Hey everyone, this is Chris and James. You're listening to the How Octane Dads podcast. How Octane Dads is about fast cars, racing, and living that dad life. It's tough out there being a dad and still trying to find time for your hot rod and all your projects. Each week we'll be talking about current events in the automotive and racing world, updates on our projects, and struggles and challenges of being a father in today's day. So kick up your feet and relax for the next little bit. You've earned it.
All right, guys. Well, welcome back. This is the High Octane Dads podcast, and we're working on episode 3 here today. So just getting started. We had a couple episodes come out, just introductions to us and who we are, what our projects are, and interests, and kind of how we got into this and how we met. But today we're going to actually talk about a couple of topics, chat about some stuff that came out in our Facebook group that people had suggested, and see what we get today. So Chris, the last time we talked, I think we did a lot of rambling about our cars and our projects and what we like about being into cars and things about being a dad and how we juggle those things. But I think we're going to get more into that today. Yeah, I think we'll get started. And one of the things that came up that we talked about is, what are your thoughts on being kind of a diehard Ford guy or diehard Chevy guy or Honda guy, whatever that may be, versus just being into cars and racing in general?
Oh, I mean, I know, especially if you live in a more rural area like I do, probably as you do as well. I mean, it's a big thing, especially the American domestic brands. You got the big three, Ford, Chevy, Dodge. There's not as many people when I grew up that were into Mopars, but the whole Chevy Ford debate is a big deal. I know more which side I'm familiar with, and that I tend to lean on to, but I don't know if it's an age thing or just from being in the hobby and being around more people in the automotive world. I kind of dig a lot of different things these days. Some of them, I don't know, seem very odd or different, but then I go to comparing to other stuff, and I got to remember I'm not comparing apples to apples. So I don't know. I've gotten to a point where they all have their own place.
I mean, for me, like my best friend growing up was a diehard Ford family. Him and his dad. His dad's got a sweet 72 Grabber Maverick that he's had forever. Original paint. Super cool car. And growing up, I love that thing. He had the big dual carburetors with the tunnel ram on it. I mean, we were fascinated with that thing. And then I got my first car, of course, was the 86 Trans Am. Well, he gets an 87 Fox body. Actually, I take that back. First, he got a Mustang 2 and ended up selling that thing to get the Fox body that he really wanted. And we both still have those cars, me and him both. But, they were a diehard Ford family. My dad was a Chevy guy. My granddad was, if it wasn't a Chevy, it wasn't worth having kind of guy. Mm. Of course, like you said, I mean, I've got my affinity because I know what I grew up riding in and working on. But I've definitely developed a healthy love for anything. I mean, nowadays, I can see a cool Mustang going down the road or, hell, even a really nice old Prelude or something. And I can appreciate it for what it is, especially if it's like a Survivor.
Oh yeah. Yesterday we went to a soccer game and there was I don't remember all the body codes for Hondas, but it was like the 2001 Civic Si. It was parked out in the field there, and it was like a Survivor. Everything on it looked fairly stock, original, because it looked pretty blue color. And I'm like, oh man, I remember picking, talking so much shit on those cars. But I'm like, honestly, I mean, it's a little bit nostalgic to see them. And I had a base model Civic, that body style, for a while, and I beat the ever living shit out of it. But it was actually a really good car, and I like seeing those kind of econo cars that didn't get totally trashed by idiots like me. Because I'm pretty sure that's what happened to most of those cars. And now I see them like, oh man, and those cars, they just, I mean, third gens aren't built very well, but most of those cars really aren't built very well. So when they get to a certain point, they're kind of hard to keep up when you've been tearing them apart and fucking with them so much. I mean,
Yep.
I'm not a big Honda guy, so I don't listen to me. I'm just an idiot rambling.
Yeah.
But that's just how I feel about it.
Well, it's
But
like
I
me.
mean, it's just nice to see the survivors now.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I never. We owned a Honda Fit. You know, when we were a young family, I think my wife had one for a little while that she drove around. But you know, she drives a 2015 Durango RT with the 5.7 in it now. So
Oh yeah,
she's converting to a Mopar lover for sure. I told her, I said, Mo Party is right after LS Fest. Like we could just stay for 2 weeks. I mean,
exactly.
be awesome.
I mean, I was thinking about that. I bet that whole county either loves or hates when those, that month period there where it's like LS Fest, the Mopar event, then you got Ford Fest or whatever they call it.
Hmm.
You know, if you could tell kind of which way we lean here,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, you know, it's funny because we're at the point now. Let's see, I've got two Mopars in the driveway, and
yeah.
then you know most everything else is GM. My daughter drives a little Honda Civic, but you know, we I did drive a Toyota Camry, like it was a 1996 Toyota Camry, and I drove that thing for a couple years in college, and you can't kill those cars.
Oh no, oh hell
Um,
no.
one of the best memes I've saw, it said that there was a factory recall from Toyota on 1996 Toyota Camrys because the owner should have bought something new by now.
Oh yeah. Oh,
But
I've seen that one.
mhm.
I mean, a car brand that we've kind of gotten into, like I said, historically I prefer more GM brands, and it probably stems more from my uncle. That's kind of what all he wanted when I was a kid and just getting into cars. We talked about that somewhere in another
Mhm.
episode. Um, but now also, as he's gotten older, he has his O2 Trans Am, like a 19 or 20 F-150 EcoBoost, and then he's got like a 2010 Ford Fusion Sport. He owns more Fords than he does Chevy, but and I always thought when I was a kid that my grandfather was real big into Chevy. Well, the truck that he had last, when he was last living was a OBS body style work truck, just white two wheel drive. I don't know what motor had in it. I mean, but I mean, I look at pictures and he had all sorts of old Ford and Chevy trucks, square bodies, both of them all the way through the years. Which where they're from is most farming community. They owned a small engine company, so that's what it is out there. A lot of Fords and Chevys, but even him, I mean, it didn't really seem like he was set in stone one way or the other. But you do get kind of familiar with something, and that's what you like. Anyways, I'm just kind of rambling.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I think for me, my granddad, you know, he has a '88 Silverado TBI. You know, the first year of the OBS body style, and it's right on the other side of that wall, with the front clip off of it. It's getting a 5.3 with the TIC Performance street heat cam. I think we talked about that last time, but working on
Yeah.
getting the 5.3 ready for that. Hit a couple snags, but we're getting there. And I really want to get that thing back on the road because, I mean, it had the 350 in it. We hit about 342,000 miles, and then it wasn't getting driven a lot. And it was just kind of like, I can either go through this engine and figure this out and still be, or I can put the LS in it and, you know, really, really make it into a pretty fun truck. But the goal is to stay a cruiser, right, with heat and air. But ultimately, I mean, I think I mostly dabble with GM stuff because in my limited time, right, I only got time to figure out how to do stuff really on one platform. You know, if I did this for a living and worked in the industry and could really play around with it, I would love to. I'm a guy who likes to know how everything works, and
Oh
so
yeah.
yeah, I'd love to know, you know, fiddle with the Coyote motors and stuff, and
Yeah.
you know, or anything like that. But
I actually, would really love to have a Fox body or another older Ford, and just do all the typical, bolt-ons cam that people would have done in that era,
mhm.
like I guess the Fox body with the 303 cam, and the Flowmasters, and just all the typical bolt-ons and chassis mods, and have a nice cruiser that's somewhat period correct. Not looking for crazy power,
Yeah.
but I mean it'd be fun. But then also I'd love to have a Coyote swap box body.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Oh, my best friend, that 87 that he's got, it's still got the stock bottom end 302. He's running. The last pass he made was, mid 11s, with it's got a supercharger on it, that I came across on Facebook Marketplace one day because, well, that's what I do, is scroll Marketplace all the time. And I sent it to him. I was like, man, I don't know if you want something like this, but it's out there. And like, he went and bought it that afternoon. He was like, good find, and so it's on his car. And the only reason he didn't run a much better time is he had a valve that just ever so slightly kissed the piston just a little bit. We took it apart. He had a valve spring break, and got very lucky. I mean, because the bottom end is still good to go, but he's coming up on the power that stock block can handle. But I mean, other than that, it's a 302s. I think it's got GT40 heads, Cobra upper lower intake. Just like you said, kind of it's got with the 4302s, I think they have like you've got like the B cam and they made them pretty simple to understand what you were getting in the cams you bought. And I'm not sure which one his has got, but like you said, it's kind of that progression of things you would have just done to a 302, and he's kept it running all these years, and it's awesome. So. We try to go to the track at the same time when we go, and and run. So, but a Coyote swap one would be badass.
Like the interiors are garbage on them, but like an old 4i car, like I'd love to have a 4i notch, and I don't know if they made them, but like a 4i notch with T-tops.
Okay. I used to hate the 4Is. Like in high school, I was like the LX style, with the headset. Those are so much cooler, which is what he has. And as I've gotten older, when I see a really clean one with the 4i, it's like, I like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sure. And I would think of more of one sort of like that, more like a resto mod, kind of cruiser, with nice set of coilovers, wheels. Do like a Coyote swap, make a nice driver. Way faster than most of the bolt-on 302 cars from back in the day.
Yep. I told him if he ever, whenever he passes that power level that 302 can handle, we could start on the Coyote swap. I'd love to help him do it. And I think he wants to put a 351 in it when he does it and stay with a small block Ford. Okay. Which, I mean, I can respect that for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
but I know as we've gone on, we've had a couple Hyundais, and Hyundai gets a lot of bad name, but all of ours in 2014 and newer. We've had a few Hondas, Pontiacs, a few different GM vehicles. But honestly, currently I really like our Hyundais, and I bought my daughter that XC70 Volvo with the 2.5 turbo, and honestly I knew Volvo could be kind of notorious because I had some friend of mine in high school. His older brother had one of the older boxy sedan Volvos, and I remember him talking about how they were, kind of slept on. And I think his was a non-turbo 5-cylinder, but it was a 5-speed car, rear-wheel drive, had leather, and I mean he would play with it, but I mean the car was stock. And I just always remember that those cars, sometimes they had some kind of cool options to them. And given this is kind of a goofball-looking car, but it makes turbo noises, and I'm kind of intrigued on how they work. I'm really interested in the like the R models they came out with later, the S60s and the V70s, but they are a maintenance nightmare. Oh, yeah. Basically, if you hate yourself and you want to work on shit all the time, bringing you back to the carburetor days, it ain't that bad. But I mean, just oil seals and timing belts, and I know it's stuff we've all replaced before on let's say the big three, but Jesus Christ,
yeah,
the European cars just seem to be like a maintenance nightmare. But the options that some of them come with, and they do run well. Some of them, LS swap everything, the world.
LS Swap the World. Yeah, I mean, there's a crew around here that runs around, and one of the main guys that I met that did it, he moved out of the area, but they called themselves the Average Squad, right? And they had anything you could think of, old like diesel Mercedes and
Oh yeah.
just all kind of neat and interesting cars through the years, and you'd see them. They'd go to car shows and stuff, and that's where I think I have an appreciation for all those things. I love watching those old, the old car shows you used to see every Saturday morning. And I'm blanking on the name right now. The guy with the big mustache that would go to all the car shows and
Classic car.
yeah. I mean, I used to love watching that
Yeah.
because he'd always find the most obscure stuff, but it was so cool.
Oh yeah. I can't remember his name either, but yeah. Uh, I used to love that.
Yeah.
And I want to say it was one of those episodes where I don't know if it was one of those, but it was one of those Saturday morning shows that made me fall in love with the Roadrunner, the Mopar Roadrunner, Plymouth Roadrunner. And they did an episode where they had one that was like I don't know, kind of that like really generic '60s blue. You would kind of see on a lot of stuff,
Oh
and they
yeah.
kind of went over the history of the Roadrunner, and like the one they had on there had like back bench seats, had a 440 with a 4-speed, and it was like bare bones. Had the dog dish hubcaps, and I'm like, man, that is badass.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that basic ass car is awesome. But then you go to look at buying one now, and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ.
There's a local guy that I went to a little cruise in last year. They do like a Monday night thing similar to the Summit stuff. The local car club that mostly just do car shows and stuff. They do like a Monday night when I went to the first one I attended this past year, and there was a one in that same blue that was sitting there, and I mean it was so cool to pull up and see it. But yeah, I don't know what he paid for it. I don't want to know.
Yeah, if I were going to have an old Mopar, I'd really want was like 68, 69. I think they did them in 72. Then I think 71's when they changed the body style.
Yep.
But I love them with like 391s, 4-speed, 440. Do the old mods from back in the day. Do headers more, probably a more modern piping and mufflers, not glass packs or something. But something that'd be kind of fun to cruise with around town at least. Not a whole lot with those 391s, but yeah, I mean it'd be a fun car.
Yep. So yeah, I mean to kind of sum that up, I think there are definitely those that are die hard for one brand or another, but at the heart of it, and nowadays, right? It in this industry and racing and all, we've kind of all as as lovers of the combustion engine, I think we've all started to come together a little bit more. As
Oh yeah,
as those things are becoming more scarce, and I mean, as cool as the Coyote is, and I think did I see Doug from Motion posted the other day that they had a Coyote that set like the stick shift record or something. It was like they ran a 390
oh yeah, I think I
or
saw
something. I mean, so and awesome, but like my question about
absolutely.
the Coyotes and how cool that is when you think about when people say I did an LS swap and I made LS power, like these engines are everywhere.
Oh,
They were in work trucks. They were in anything. So you can go to a junkyard and they're readily available. Like, is the Coyote ever going to be at a point that it was so produced and in so many vehicles that they're plentiful? I guess would be my question. I don't know. I don't know. Are they in like the F-150s or is it?
yeah, so the F-150s they have them also. That I don't know all the details on them, but I think uh, the cams are a little bit different, or maybe the intake's different. There's a little bit
Some
of a
things you could
difference.
change maybe
Yeah,
to
there's
get
differences between 150 and like the Mustang Coyotes, as far as I know. But I mean,
still a 50.
they've put them in a lot of stuff, but I really don't know if they're putting them in everything. I think that a lot of the diesel engines are more of a thing. I see a lot more of for like typical work trucks, things of that nature, a lot more of like the Colorados, Canyons, the Ford Maverick. the newer Ford Ranger. I'm seeing a lot of the Mavericks these days.
Yeah.
Um, and those are just either you get the little EcoBoost or you get the little front wheel drive electric base setup,
And
the hybrid.
I guess that's why just the LS is such a, I mean, phenomenon might not be the word, right? But they're so prolific because they came in everything, and you could buy it and
Well,
build it, and so it's easy to go and find one when you want one.
well, think about the Gen One small block Chevy. It came in everything,
Yep.
just about everything from 1955 on, till the early 2000s when they still were using them in some of the vans with like the 305s and 350s.
Yep. And I
I
think that's
mean,
not to take anything away from the Coyotes because I mean they're amazing, right? But I don't know that the swaps will ever be as common as seeing an LS
I
swap.
think, yeah, I think they're. I mean, I don't know a super shit fuck ton a lot about
Yeah.
them, but they're a very well engineered engine to just kind of be thrown in anything. I believe.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot went into them get them to a certain level where it's like, yeah, we're not going to just stick this in like any old, beater.
You're right.
I mean,
And I see that for sure. And if somebody listens to this and knows differently, right? And there's the Coyote swap support and aftermarket support's going to get more and more over the years, then that'll be awesome because it'll be another thing that we'll see get bigger and catch on. So I mean, it'd be awesome. I'd love to hear about it and learn about it. I just don't know, but I know that my brother's old company truck that's got 400 and something thousand miles on it has a 4.8 in it, and that thing was a base model with I think it had crank windows in it. I'm not sure, but you could go pull that engine and build it and do what you wanted to with it. So they were in everything, like we said. So just a
oh
a
yeah,
thought, but
yeah. I mean, you figure they're compact, work well with just about any setup. So
yeah. Well, one of the questions that came in through the Facebook group that I thought was really good. So, do you have any hobbies that you've taken up specifically to share with your kids outside of something you would have normally done?
I don't know. Honestly, I pick up so many hobbies on my own that it's I like to do a lot of the things that we end up doing with my kids. I guess I just got into these mini bikes, and I've got an old go kart that we're going to try to put back together. And it'd be nice to be able to take the kids out, riding on some of that stuff. Like I said, I'm bad enough at getting my own hobbies.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I mean, I've been into everything at one time or another between photography and cars and video games and everything else. I think I always, as a kid, I had an interest in even doing martial arts. But like now, when my 10-year-old, well, at the time he was 8, said he wanted to do taekwondo, like he didn't want to do it by himself, and so I've been for 2 years now I've been doing that with him, and that's been enjoyable because it's a good outlet to get out and get some cardio and do
Oh,
something and learn something new anyway. But it's something that he and I do together. I will say video gaming is not a hobby that I got into because of my kids, but playing Fortnite is definitely thanks to my 15-year-old because that's not a game I care to play. And I play that with him every now and then, but it's definitely not my favorite. But yeah, I'm like you, man. I try and do so many different things that if they come up and they're like, oh, I kind of want to try this, I've probably done it, and then now we can go do it together. But
right.
yeah,
Oh yeah. I mean, like my wife's tried to get me to coach soccer a bunch of times. I mean, I played soccer when I was a kid. I also played basketball. I ran track for many years, and I'm like, it'd be great. I just don't have the energy, or like life is just so busy with work. I don't ever know what's going on,
hmm,
so it makes it hard to commit to something like that when that's not something I can easily just drop.
yeah.
But
I won't say it's a
I
hobby
mean,
I've picked up, but I've seen a lot more musicals in the last 3 years than I ever thought I would have because my daughter's big into doing musicals. She does fantastic at it. Friday we went and saw. I think they did like Aladdin Junior or something, right? And it's always good to see your kid up on stage doing something they like to do. But I'm definitely not a musical guy, but I am for her.
Oh, that's good though. I mean,
Yep.
it it gets her into something, something she loves. Any way you can meet people, and as much as I hate people, but it's really cool meeting people and just seeing, you know, where it takes you,
Yep.
and doing that, especially if she sticks with it. Um, there will be probably a lot of opportunities for her.
Yeah, she's going to go a long way. She wants to do something with music, be it in the music industry or music therapy is a big thing that she's interested in doing in college as a major. So whatever she does, she'll do great at it. But she loves it, and she's got a great support system here between the school and the Arts Alliance. That yeah, she loves it. But yeah, she's met a ton of people, made a lot of great friends. So yeah, I definitely encourage her to do it. And it's great. Even my 9-year-old son, like he can't wait to go just because it's his sister in a play, so he's excited to go see it, and that's great to see him supporting her too. So
Oh yeah, that's good.
all right, well, we've got another one that came in from the Facebook group. Let's see. How do you juggle being a dad but finding time to enjoy as much car stuff as you can?
Uh,
Got to give him the ancient secret.
we don't.
We
This
have
is
no
what
idea.
I mean. I don't know. I mean, like, there's like I always see on Facebook all these cars and coffees and meats and all that, and man, I'd love to go to every single one of them. And I get people like you, Chase, that asks me about them, wants me to go. I just don't always have the energy. you know, that requires leaving my house sometimes. But I don't know. I mean, I planned my trip for September. That's the last couple of years. That's been a really good time. Given that's a little bit different. It's a planned trip away for all car things, all weekend. During the year, I'd really love. I was hoping this year would be a year I could get out and do a lot more. I was wanting to go to a lot more of these cruise-ins and car shows, and I mean it still might happen. I mean it's early spring really,
Yeah.
but there's still a lot of I don't know. I mean I need to get to some more. I want to. Work has just been awful, and trying to do is stretching ourselves thin to try to do everything we can, try to enjoy everything that we can. So hopefully things can slow down a little bit, and I'd love to make it out to some more events and meets other than just going to the local ice cream place that everybody goes to on Saturday nights. Uh, Even though the last few times I just kind of I roll in, say hi, and then leave. But I mean, it is what it is. But I'd like to be able to go to some more and hang out, take the kids. I know my year old, he'd love to do it. My 10-year-old's not so much. My oldest, she's likes cars, but I don't know, she's doing her own thing.
Yeah.
Other than she really likes Mustangs, so I don't know how that happened.
Some outside influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter, she, like I said, she's the artsy one. I mean, she'll definitely go to a car show with me and things like that. She'll go to the race with me. Some of the only pictures I have of me on the track with my car are my daughter, because she likes to go and take pictures, which is obviously something I love to do. My youngest, he's showing some interest in photography. He'll be 10 in September, and he's been to, matter of fact, one of the first like bigger races I took him to, our local track that's about an hour away, hosted the Southeastern Gassers Association, and they were racing there, and that is such a cool event. If I don't know if they come anywhere near you guys, I'll have to look at their schedule, but it's a ton of fun to go watch all these old period correct gassers run. They have pretty strict rules about how the cars are set up and things, so they put on a really cool event. The racers are super friendly, super nice. We walked up. It was very, very cold that day we went. My son had like a beanie on. And the wife of one of the racers walked over and seen him and said, "I really like your hat," and just started talking to him. Like they gave him a T-shirt, and just so now he cheers for their car every time he sees anything about the Southeastern Gassers. It's the double X car, and I think they won it that year. So we actually ended up we drove to Charlotte to Shadyside to watch them a second time, and I took photos and things. Super cold again that day, so we went to the NASCAR Hall of Fame on the way home, and came back to the house the next day. But they'll definitely go to events with me, but my kids just aren't super interested right now. And I think it's important just to be in whatever season you're in. Like you said, I'm planning the trip in September, which this year is going to be super cool. I actually got a media pass, so I get one of the fancy high vis vests and can get out there and actually take some even better photos of the drifting and stuff, which is going to be a lot of fun, and the drag racing. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, John.
We'll have to try to put your medium vest on Steve.
Yeah, get some photos. But yeah, so I mean, I'm planning that event, but I think just right now, while my kids are still younger and into plays and martial arts and the other things that they're into, I'm just focused on those things, and I'm trying, I try not to let the fear of missing out get me too bad, because there's going to be time, right? And I'll get around to finishing the car. I'll get to more cruise ins, as they get older, and just enjoying this time with them. But at the same time, so the question being, how do I find time for as much as I can? On days where I have time to get out in the garage, I do my 15 minutes. Sometimes I have to front load about 2 hours and get all of my several days of 15 minutes all in one day, and then I might not get in the garage for a week. But just find time where I can.
I've been pretty hard at it on these damn mini bikes lately. I think I'm pretty close. Yeah, I'm pretty close. I'm having some hard start issues, but no, I mean today I've been out here. Later in the evening here, I've been out here doing a little bit of picking up, and I'm getting to a point where I can get the Trans Am back in, and I'm like, all right, great. And then I can work on that, but then I've still got other shit to finish. But it'll be kind of a nice relief to get it back inside, and I got to work on the. All right, so doing the car things, it's not always car things you love. Like the Volvo has a dead alternator right now. It's sitting blocking the Trans Am in with a dead battery. Trans Am has a dead battery. So in order for me to do anything, I had to jump several cars to move them. So sometimes it's just a lot.
Yep.
And I would really like to get that car back inside. It's been sitting outside for like 6 months now. We're probably close to it. I like to get it inside, and once I kind of get some more, because every time I move things around, I throw a lot of shit away now. So that's different. I'm not usually doing that. I'm usually keeping things forever. So hopefully a lot more days sooner than later, with like more fun car stuff or car stuff that I want to do.
Yeah, it's never fun when you're doing all the, fixing parts instead of the fun parts.
Well, my Trans Am, I really want to tear it all the way apart and start cutting the quarter panel off of it. So it's a lot of work. But I'm at a point where, mentally I'm ready to do it. I need to get it done. So I'm, it's sitting around. So once I really need to just, maybe I go out there and whack that quarter with a hammer or something to make it even worse. And then I'll be like, oh, I got to do something with it. I mean, I've thought about that so many times, but I'm like, no, I just can't do that.
We had another one here from Mikey who asked that first question, but I think this is a good one too, and we've got a couple minutes here. So I guess as you and your kids have gotten older, right, do you have anything that you fantasized about doing with the kids, or thought about, like, teaching them to do their first oil change, change a tire using certain tools, teach them to drive a manual? He says here, save the manuals, so I'm all about that. That maybe you're not there yet, or or you have, and how did it go compared to kind of how you wanted it to?
So I had my daughter help me when I had the Volvo inside a couple months ago, I had her come in and help me do the first oil change on that car, which was the first oil change I've ever done in a car with a cartridge style filter. So we both learned something. She was pretty perceptive. I mean, we took everything apart and I showed things to her and got her in there helping wiping all the surfaces down and clean things up. I had her put the oil in the car. I mean, I don't know if she remembers it for next time, but the next time we do it, I'll have her do it again. Um, that's kind of one thing that I feel that, like with my kids, and especially, I'm not saying, there's a difference between one sex and the other, but with some girls, they don't get have the same mindset or friends to be around that talks about on cars and working with our hands and doing all this mess. So I'd much prefer my daughter kind of have a general understanding and the basic maintenance on her car herself. So if she gets in predicaments where she breaks down the side of the road and can't get a hold of anyone, what have you, I'd like her to be able to try to at least make a educated guess on what's going on or how to change her tire if she has to get to that point. I know at some point this summer I want her to learn where the spare is on her car and how to pull it out, how to jack the car up, how to swap one wheel out, how to swap the spare back on. I feel that especially a new driver and they need to kind of know as much about the vehicle they will be driving majority of the time so they can be, I guess, at one with the vehicle or feel the most comfortable, and make us feel more comfortable that if something does happen, they can kind of be more, they can communicate to you a little bit better on what's going on, or they're able to fix that issue if they get into a situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's huge, right? Like my daughter, her Civic, she knows how to like check the oil in it, and she wanted to like take the front tag mount off because we don't have to have them here, right? So she wanted to take that off her car, a little mount for it, and she hopped down there and started doing it herself, and she'll get out there with me when I'm cleaning it and things like that. She thinks she knows how to do basic stuff like checking the oil. It's got a leaky power steering pump that I have yet to figure out exactly where it's leaking from. I guess it's going to end up being the pump, right? But nonetheless, she knows how to add power steering fluid. But I mean, it's it's a first car.
Yeah, well, it's kind of the Volvo. I mean, it's leaking. And my thought on it at this point, if it's got oil under it, it's got oil in it. No, I've been checking the oil, and it's always good to go. I'll add a little bit here and there, but it's leaking something from somewhere, and it's driving me insane. And I've replaced so much dumb shit. So we're at a point we may end up pulling the motor on that car and actually doing just a whole reseal on everything and do a timing belt on it. So I don't know when it was done last. I've got a bunch of oil change records for the car, but that was just from the previous owner. So who knows when the timing belt was done. So I'd like to get her to help when we do some of that. It might not be something she'll ever really have to do again, but it could be experience. Make part of it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my dad called me one day and he was pulling a trailer and had a tire go on it, and kind of busted up the fender, and we had to go and bend it back and all that. But I had my son with me. He was 14 at the time, and I was like, today's the day you learn to change a tire on the side of the road. And
Yeah.
taught him about breaking the lug nuts loose, jacking it up, getting it swapped out. And I know if he's like I was when I was 14, whether he remembers or not, by the next time we'll see. But at least he's been shown. I remember the first time I had a flat in the Trans Am. I was glad my dad had showed me how to change it. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, like my dad, he was never a real big car guy. I mean, I helped him do things. I remember he had a Dodge Colt for a long time that had a carbureted four cylinder in it, and I remember learning at a young age how to go out and start a clutch car. I remember riding along with him in the passenger seat. He'd have me, all right, shift. I remember shifting for him, and so like I had a general idea, and I learned with that from Dad, and I learned a lot of it. Probably a lot of it. We did a lot of oil changes I helped him with. We worked on putting radios in, but we never bought the radio kit, and And then now looking back, I'm like, oh God, because you spent the $10 and saved all this nonsense that I went through.
But that's how they
And
get you.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that. I learned at that point in time that a butter knife was a tool to keep in your toolbox because we used a butter knife for everything. I don't know why. But if you come in my garage, you'll probably find a butter knife out here.
So a funny story, my wife, right after we traded the little Honda Fit on a Dodge Journey, we had to, swap the tag over, and she walked through the garage, past my toolbox into the kitchen to grab a butter knife. And I said, babe,
Yeah.
what are you doing? She said, I got to change the tag on my car. And my mom always used a butter knife to do it. And I was like, I get that you can, but I have a whole
Yeah.
drawer of screwdrivers, But to this day, she'll use a butter knife. This specific to this question, like I remember that OBS pickup had to do an oil change on it one day, and I think my 15-year-old, he was probably 8 or 9 at the time. But I've still got pictures, and I still remember him laying underneath the truck with me, draining the oil, and he got bored of it pretty quick. But just
Oh,
I don't know, if it went the way I maybe had always thought of teaching my kid to do an oil change in my head. But I do have great memories of that day. And, luckily my wife came out, she took a couple pictures, and I definitely, I'll always remember that, and, whether he will or not and how he'll remember it, we'll see. Yeah, it was a good time. It was a good question. Yeah, for sure. Well, we're a little over 40 minutes. So
yeah. I think it's a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah. We'll actually end it this time instead of just kind of logging off for the night. I know it's getting close. My youngest still hasn't made it home from grandma's house yet. She's supposed to be bringing him home, so I got to figure out where he's at and get him ready for school tomorrow. They've only got a couple more weeks. I don't know when your kids get out, but
I think sometime in May,
maybe
second or third week.
Maybe it's 3 more weeks, but yeah, they're chomping at the bit for summer break, and we'll have to talk about that eventually. Huh?
Oh, yeah. I want to say that's when ours get out, sometime in the end of May.
Yeah, like it's used to summertime's a stressful thing for parents. So we'll do some foreshadowing for a future episode. But summertime can be stressful. Like if you both parents work outside of the home, you got to figure out who's going to watch the kids and things like that. I'm very fortunate over the last, 5 years of my career, 4 years of my career. I've worked fully remote as in IT, so I'm able to work from home. So when my kids are out for summer, they're just here. Other than having to kind of be quiet because dad's in meetings and stuff, like they don't have to go anywhere. And of course, it's a huge cost savings too. But I thought I was going to dread it. And like summertime is my favorite time of the year. They're all home. We hang out. We eat lunch together, kind of stuff. So that'd probably be something good to talk about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think, in my perspective, where I'm at now, I would love to have that type of situation. Given, the kids can be a lot, but it would be kind of nice to be around because I remember when I was a kid doing stuff during the summer like that. I mean, it was nice when you were with a grandparent or somebody that was off. You can run around with them all day long, or back and forth throughout the day. But yeah, that could be a good. We'll bring that back for next time.
Yeah, and I'll add it to the list. But I can tell the stories about when I was my summer breaks. Both my grandparents worked on an Air Force base, and back then it was a lot more lax, and you could bring your kid to work, and used to have a lot of fun out there. So,
oh yeah,
sat in the cockpit of an F-15 one time.
Oh wow,
it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll add that to the list. We'll definitely bring that up. And yeah, so I mean, as far as working remote goes, I mean, we just need to get everybody to like and subscribe to this thing and share it out, and then maybe we'll be able to do this full time, and then you can stay home with your kids.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
And be sweet.
I mean, honestly, yeah, we could go into a lot of that. There's
Sure.
there's a whole work thing. Yeah, we'll go into it all.
Yeah, work stress and all
But
that's a very big thing. We've definitely got that on our list. But these questions were great. I enjoyed doing this one where we kind of had some from the group. So if anybody's listening to this and you've got some topic ideas, questions, things like that, potential guests, throw them out there in the group. We make note of all that stuff. So that's kind of the primary way we're communicating with everybody right now. But send us all your ideas and we'll definitely get them out there.
yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, Chris, I enjoyed it. We'll sign it off for tonight and pick it up next time.
I'll talk to you later.
See ya.